Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
After Guam, si Rod's Gimp introducing the 2020 Toyota Tacoma Access Cap T-Max. Este na mes, kato mo yung promo ng United Airlines, $1,000 United vouchers. Often ang nangga, sabik man manono si Tacoma, Guam, Tacoma territory. Sexy Rods, ginagi Atkins Pro Toyota, 671-788-2584. Alumbray, go si Rods, sinanagan sa 671-788-2584. Often ang nangga, let's go places.
Good evening and welcome to Candid News. I'm Johnny Rosario.
And I'm Troy Torres.
It is March 3rd, 2020 on this lovely Tuesday evening. Thank you for joining us.
Happy birthday to my cousin John Roberto, who works at Customs, and now he's probably going to be written up by the director.
Oh, because he's related to you?
Yeah.
Oh.
And we were like best friends growing up in elementary school.
Oh, happy birthday,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah. Happy 40th birthday, John. You always like to say that you were older than me. Well, congratulations. You are now in your 40s, and I'm in my 30s.
Don't worry, John. He does the same thing to me. He does the same thing to me.
And I tried calling you today. I know the last 4 digits of your phone number are the year that we were born. And I tried, ask Eric, do you have your microphone on, Chelo? I tried 5 different phone prefixes. And I got a call, like 3 ladies, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you're not John." And then like one chatty guy who was like, "Who's this?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm looking for my cousin John to tell him happy birthday. I apologize."
He's telling the truth.
Yeah. So, welcome to our studios here in Tumon, Guam. We haven't been on the air for the past few days, and the truth is that we've been freaking out about the coronavirus. And so we haven't done much but go shopping for groceries for our 2-week to 1 month supply of
You know
doomsday.
what bothers me about this is that a lot of families, which include me, the money it takes to prepare for something like this,
Yeah.
the financial, you have to have money
Yeah.
in order to buy the like you need to stock up. Like let's say we have to be at home for 2 weeks, so that's what I prepared for. That costs money, and people are like me. We don't have money.
So if you are low on funds, hook yourself up with a veteran because the commissary is now open to more veterans.
Oh yeah, but you're only allowed to get one alcohol bottle. Like there's rules
Well,
there.
that's wonderful for the coronavirus.
Yeah, there's rules.
Or
Now it's
Because I think
28
people
days.
went there and like bought a lot of things.
I have it on good authority that the meat section runs out on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when they restock or something. Like this person knows it down, just like I know when restock days are at Ross. But the other way that you can save money as you prepare for your Corona Doomsday is to not shop at Payless because it's because. Let's start with magistrates. We only have one to bring you. I actually didn't. Did you look at all the magistrates today?
I did.
Nothing
no.
except for this one.
Yeah, it's drunk driving and
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Possession
Someone
and all
found
that
with
stuff.
yeah, and then someone
Blah,
with the
blah,
gun.
blah.
Yeah,
Oh, someone with a gun,
yeah.
but no violence involved.
It didn't say the guy was just mad and they found him on the road, so
Oh,
it didn't
okay.
really say.
But we do have one.
Yes. The magistrate's complaint is against Rico Aiken Charfris. Assault on a police officer, assault and criminal trespass. On or about March 1st, 2020, at approximately 5:10 p.m., the victim called police to report a criminal trespass at the property she occupies in Agate. The victim told police a person later identified as Rico Aiken Charfris, who was wearing a red shirt and khaki shorts, was yelling on her property. Victim asked defendant to leave. Defendant picked up a piece of rebar and gestured it in a throwing manner to the victim. Police received information that the defendant was last seen around Mount Carmel School and proceeded there. Once there, police saw defendant running and wearing a red shirt and khaki shorts. Police pursued defendant onto another residential property where defendant sat on the front porch and yelled at police. Defendant shouted at the police, "Don't come near me," and "F you" repeatedly while smoking from his glass pipe with the bulbous end.
Winner of the Darwin Awards for today.
Kenya told defendant to relax, and defendant stood up abruptly and swung his right hand at Officer Kenya to strike him. Based on the foregoing, there is probable cause to charge Rico Aiken Charfris. So he made sure he got his last hit in.
Did he at least take a hit?
Yeah, it says he was hitting the thing.
Yeah, but the cops could have messed it up.
Well, he was sitting, he ran, the cops probably didn't run as fast as he did, and he was able to sit there and light it up.
So, okay, maybe it's not a Darwin Awards thing. Maybe it's he knew he was going to get caught. He was going to go to jail.
So he wanted to hit it.
He wanted to at least go to
Yes.
jail high.
Yes, yes.
So that when the judge tests him after the magistrate's hearing, the judge is going to be even more upset and not release him.
No,
from jail.
no,
Or
they know there's a time frame. The Superior Court knows there's a time frame. So let's say you get busted on Friday, they release you on Saturday, and then you have to check in on Monday. When you check in on Monday and they test you and you're positive, they give you some time. So it doesn't go against you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
because I stayed dirty all for like all the way, and it didn't count against me. So
in more serious criminal news, there is a viral video that we are not going to show because, and we did publish this video along with the story. We bleeped out the cuss words and we covered the faces of the minors. But even still, so Jacob Nakamura called me after I published that, and we argued about it. Jacob was like, ethics, journalism, and blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, but everybody's seen this video already, and Jacob was like, yeah, but it doesn't mean that a news organization publishes it because you have to consider the graphic impact that it has on your viewers, even if you blot out the faces of the minors and you bleep out the cuss words and stuff like that, the stabbing. So in this video, if you haven't seen it yet, it shows a student stabbing another student. And of course, Jacob won the argument, so I
removed it.
It from Facebook. Yeah. So, if you want to see the video, I guess you can get it from just about anyone on WhatsApp. It's been going around, and it appeared in the public conscience this morning, but this happened on Friday. We got confirmation from John Fernandez, the superintendent of education, that this incident involves students from, did he say Teton High School? Do you remember? From Teton High School.
Yeah, the uniforms look like.
And it was Teton High School uniforms, and it was at a bus stop. So what had happened? Well, let me just open the messages from John so that we can just read it to you. This is a very sad thing, and I really, if you guys, are there comments open so we can see what people are saying?
Yes.
I'm very interested to know what parents and even students, if you're watching, I'm very interested to know what you have to say about this, because this is very different from those viral videos of riots happening inside the schools. This wasn't inside a school, this was at a bus stop.
Yeah, after the kids got off the bus, they're supposed to be going home and safe, and this happened. And this happened right near the Revival Church in Machechi.
Oh, where all kinds of crazy stuff always is happening. Oh, that's also near Paradise Fitness Center and Pela Stereo,
Yeah, in
right?
that same area.
So John Fernandez, the superintendent, says Teton High School administrators became aware of a video circulating of an injured student on Friday afternoon, and they initiated their investigation. Earlier today, Teton High School and Central Office administrators received copies of fight video related to Friday's incident. This new video helped us identify students who were involved, and GPD was immediately contacted to assist. 3 students were taken into custody by GPD. The school is completing its investigation and identifying anyone who helped to abet or instigate the fight, including taking and circulating video of the altercation. The school will take its disciplinary actions, and GPD will determine how to proceed with any criminal actions involved. To the question, is there anyone we can interview about the need for local and federal funding for increased opportunities to provide case-based interventions for kids with behavioral issues? And I'll explain that in just a second. I'll give you that answer when we're done discussing the fight itself, because we received information about one of the assailants. We asked, how was the victim doing? And John said, it is my understanding that the victim was released Friday night from GRMC. 3 individuals taken into custody this morning by GPD are at DYA, according to a GPD update. The victim has not returned to school. An assembly is being set up tomorrow or Thursday for school to address students. Also, a parent meeting. Now, there are a lot of things that I want to discuss about this. The first being disciplinary action against maybe the kid who took the video. What I want to say about that is the only reason that they are able to hold anyone accountable is because someone took a video of this. And if you think about it, this kid was released Friday night. Why did it take until Tuesday afternoon for Guam Police Department to do anything about arresting the 3 students who were involved in the altercation? If the kid was released Friday night from the hospital and was able to talk.
But when the ambulance picked up the boy, shouldn't have a call come in for assault. So police should have been activated right then and there.
Absolutely. And should have been able to talk to that kid who was assaulted when the kid was released from the hospital, or as soon as the kid was able to talk by the doctor's orders. Why did it take until Tuesday, and only because of this video, for these kids to be taken in? And the reason we asked the question, because John says the kid's okay and the other kids were taken into custody. The question that he was responding to was, is that kid back at school, and are the other kids back at school, and how can you assure the safety of that victim from these other kids if they were back at school on Tuesday? And luckily, the assailants were not back at school, and neither is the victim.
Well, they went to school today. That's where they picked them up. Was at school.
Oh, John didn't say that. Where did we get that? Is that from GPD?
They went to Teason and picked up the boys there.
Oh, that's where they went. Oh, you see? You see, that is a hole in information that is very important for Teason High School parents to understand. So look at this. When it comes to student safety, boy, oh boy. And then they're going to punish the kid.
I think that happened after school on Friday. So the school wasn't made aware of what happened until Tuesday.
But GPD was aware.
Should have been aware once the ambulance guys, what are they called?
Medics.
Once the medics got there to treat the boy.
And that was even in the video as well. The medics were there responding and everything. And thank you to the medics for doing that, of course. And it's a good thing that this kid wasn't so seriously injured that he had to stay overnight at Guam Memorial or whatever it was. Is it GMH?
GRMC.
Oh, GRMC.
Seriously injured or not, Troy, something should have happened on Friday,
Yeah.
not Tuesday.
Or over the weekend or something. And if DOE wasn't made aware until Tuesday, what does that say about what GPD was doing over the weekend? Why didn't they inform Department of Education? Why weren't they asking John Fernandez and the deputy superintendent?
I think the communication, that's the problem with a lot of the agencies.
That's so unacceptable, especially when you're talking about the safety of kids and the stabbing of a child. I don't know. And then the other thing is the issue of the bus stops. So, it's always been the talking point regarding school violence always leads to what about the need for more school aides or the duties that teachers have, when they're between classes or at lunch or whatever, right? But this is not one of those things. This didn't happen at a school.
Right.
It happened at a bus stop. And if private school parents think that this doesn't involve them, of course it does, because they share bus stops. Because of the sharing of buses, of public school buses. And so this is something that if you're a parent of any student, it would involve all of you, because this can happen at any bus
Anywhere.
stop where there is no adult supervision or not enough adult supervision to stop something like this. These are high school students. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're able to, when they get into these brawls, someone takes out a knife or, God forbid, a gun. And just last week was it? Bullets were found at George Washington High School campus. This is a big deal. And someone needs to answer a question, what do you do about safety in the bus stops? And maybe it really does come back to not an answer about what the government should be doing.
It's about the parents.
Yeah. Like, who are the parents of these three kids, of these three hoodlums who are on their way to a life of crime? Because guess what? They've already been apprehended and arrested by GPD. And probably because of their age, they're at DYA and not DOC. What are we getting in?
Hospitals are mandatory reporters. What happened with them? Same thing with the medics.
We should check. We should ask Cindy. This is GRMC, right?
Right.
We should ask Cindy Hansen.
If any injury regarding stabbing or shooting, the police should have been notified ASAP. The medics should have had, yes, that John Kichijo says that. They are waiting for another one like in Southern High School in 0607, and that is the Jeremy Newby.
Yeah. God rest his soul.
They waited too long. I pray for that boy. Nobody tried to stop it until he got stabbed. Everyone is involved. Davina Benavides. Yeah.
But think about it. Just like with the Joe Yuggen video.
Like my kids when they were in high school. I'm at work. I know that what time their bus gets off. So right when they get home, they're supposed to call me. Hey, Mom, I'm home. So I'm like, oh, okay, make sure you guys do this, whatever chores needed to be done, and that was it. I never, putting myself in My kids had to call me once they got off the bus to let me know they're at home.
Yeah.
If they were gonna go to the walk to the mall, because we live by the mall. If they were gonna go to the mall, they go home, they do their chores, and then they can go to the mall.
If I were a parent, I'd be a very bad parent. Like in a situation like this, like I wouldn't even. I think I would shoot those kids, and then of course I wouldn't think like, oh man, I'm gonna go to jail, and I'm not gonna be able to take care of my kid.
If my kid got stabbed, I don't know what I would do.
I'm just glad that kid's okay, but now it's an issue of that kid's mental stability. You got to have some sort of like post-traumatic stress from something like that. His feeling of being safe at school, what about
if the kid that's stabbed, if nothing happens to him, if he just gets slapped on the wrist, what he would do later in life.
Yeah. So that is a good segue into the next part of this, and that is the reports we're hearing that one of the assailants has behavioral issues, has diagnosed behavioral issues, and in public schools there's the one-to-one aid system, right? Mm-hmm. And then there are some interventions that DOE provides uniformly, and in some cases on like a group-by-group basis, and this goes into the issue of public school funding. And Maria Gutierrez and John Fernandez were fighting for public school funding before the Guam legislature. And this sort of like helps to make the case for them. Because of the lack of funding for public schools, it's not just the wear and tear of the classrooms and the lack of supplies and all that stuff. It's also stuff like this. We kind of just depend on federal funding to address the one-to-one school aid issue or the intense interventions needed by certain students, and not just those with behavioral issues, but those with learning disabilities or those who just aren't for some reason paying attention to their studies so that they can excel academically and to the proper standards of the curriculum. Extensive interventions are needed, the kind that has to happen on a case-by-case basis where teachers are given the resources to help to challenge these students with their own student by student based need assessment, and that kind of thing takes funding and more teachers and more supplies. And so in the case of this assailant, because we shouldn't believe that all hope is lost on this kid, we should want this kid.
But Troy,
to
as a
become
parent,
good.
if I know my kid is that way, I'm not gonna leave him at the bus stop.
But there are some parents who would. That's the problem.
Well,
And so what are we supposed to do about it? Because this kid is young and he's going to have a full life ahead of him to do what? And that's the challenge of this community, because there are, because there are crappy parents out there who just don't care or don't see it or don't want to see it or whatever.
they're in denial.
Or they're in denial. I'm going to guess that I don't think these parents are in denial. I think these parents don't know what to do.
That too, and they could be, we're all struggling and they have to be at their jobs and they have,
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna think, because from what I understand, one of these kids has severe behavioral issues, the kind that require remedies, and it's not just a mental health remedy. This is a sort of system of care that needs to be built around kids, at-risk kids like this, so that they're safe for others and they're safe to themselves. That didn't come out right, but that's the other reason why public school funding.
I think
so
over the
important.
years they just let go of those things that they're saying, okay, we can do without this year, and then we'll bring it back next year, but then it doesn't come back. Because when I remember when I was in school, I went to public school. I also went to private school, but on the public school side, I wasn't a, how do I say this? I was a naughty kid.
You were a model.
I wasn't a model citizen, okay? I talked back to my teachers. I remember in 3rd grade, my teacher had to grab, I just ran into that teacher, she's like, oh my God, Johnny. I'm like, oh, hi, Miss Salas. And what I remember about her, she had to lick my ear. She had to get me by my ears. I talked back. I didn't listen. I got into fights, and there was an intervention back then. You know, I had to go to this one class that all my subjects were in that one class, and I was in trouble.
So
we had to
that was a
clean the
group
whole school.
intervention.
Yeah, we had to clean the whole school. You wore these T-shirts, and and the kids, while the other kids are playing, you have to go out there and you have to clean the school, pick up the trash, and so you kind of get embarrassed and like because they're seeing you.
I had to crush cans.
Yeah, well,
For
so there was
stupid
intervention
recycling.
back then, So I think over the years, because of the funding, they let go of certain programs, and then they just forget about those programs, and then now we're seeing the effects of not having those programs.
Absolutely.
in school.
And you see the effect in the workforce. Mm-hmm. The governor says unemployment is at an all-time low. Yeah, that's if you take out of the equation all the people who stopped looking for jobs. There are way more people who stopped looking for jobs than there are in the workforce itself. And so, where do you think those people came from? They all came from, unless they moved to Guam as adults. Most of these people came from the public or private school system on this island. Most of them came from the public school system. Yeah. And if we want to wonder why there are issues that are boiling over right now, you cannot just look at what happened yesterday or last year or even 4 years ago. This cannot be pegged to just one governor or one legislature or one set of parents. This is a societal thing that started in the classroom. In the classroom, and now it's at a bus stop.
Bring back corporal punishment.
Who says bring back corporal punishment?
Me.
Oh, Eric says bring back corporal punishment. What are the rest of our viewers saying?
They're saying wait, there's one I missed. That's the answer right there. Paramedic and the hospital use their own judgment on the student. Nobody important. That's why GPD wasn't called. We'll find out, Miss Julie. Troy's actually going to get a hold of GRMC and see what the protocol is and if they followed protocol for that student.
Thank you, Julie.
Anthony Mendiola says the paddle worked back then.
It worked for me.
It worked for me.
It worked for me.
I was never scared of my father. I was just always scared of my mother. These types of bus stop fights, incidents have been going on since the 90s. Only thing that has changed is now we have cell phones. Right. The stabbing, though, definitely time has changed.
No, remember all the stabbings at GW and JFK? I think JFK was a lot before our time, but at GW, it was a racially based thing too. It was the Chamorros versus the Filipinos at the time. And at JFK it was the same thing, but it was before the GW thing. So we were really young at the time. I remember that. But there were a lot of stabbings at GW.
JFK was always front page.
JFK was front page?
Yeah, a lot.
Oh, and remember when before Dodea, there was Simon Sanchez and all the fights that happened between the Chamorros and the white and black guys. Yeah.
John Sanchez says, no excuse. Their parents are responsible for their actions. Back then, parents, right, they say, okay, you're going to go to DYA. And they let you go to DYA. They weren't like, oh, no, you can't take my kid to DYA. You got to let your kid go to DYA, Or they say, oh, CPS, CPS going to get you because you're beyond control. Hey, my mom would call, hey, come get her. Come and take her. Get her. Like, no, I don't want to go there. I promise I'm going to be good. I promise. Carl Fukuda says, I can probably write a book as a young Japanese boy growing up in Talifofo, battling in the bus stops and schools.
Ooh, growing up in the South as Japanese back in the day, huh?
Garrett Jackson.
That gotta be something.
Garrett Jackson says, a lot of schools have their hands tied under IDEA.
Oh, and yes, Garrett, and for those of you watching from the CNMI, later in our show, we're going to be talking extensively about finances in the CNMI.
God, we have a lot. Kandit Land is a lot tonight. Hi, I miss you guys.
Oh, hi everyone. I just saw the numbers. Thanks everyone.
We can thank the discipline law for this generation's disrespect. Then again, respect starts at home.
Yeah. But did you know? So this might be an eye opener for people. All of the research over the past, I think now it's like the past 15 years. It used to be the past 10, but the past 15 years, throughout the country is showing that the person with the greatest influence over the outcome of a child, whether that child will be successful in life, is a classroom teacher
I believe it.
and not a parent. And then the second person, it's not even a parent, it's the principal of the school. And this is what research, different people's research throughout the years keeps coming back to this, is that
All over the world.
no, in the United States. I don't know about the world, but I know in the United States. So, and I don't know how much it applies to Guam. I'm not really sure, because this is a smaller community, very family, well, at least it used to be very family oriented, right? We're becoming more westernized as the days go by.
Yeah, I don't like it.
We'll have more on westernization and colonization, FESPAC, and all of that stuff when we come back from a commercial break. And before we do that, we want to say thank you very much to our sponsors and advertisers. If you've noticed, Kandit's been getting that. We have actually more advertisers in the queue. We just have to produce their videos and stuff.
Yes.
We do that. You can, if you want a rate card, you can email Johnny or me at news@kanditnews.com or call us. My number is 456-4237. Please don't call from an unknown number because I will not answer it. Or Johnny is at 797-7082. Tomorrow we have our sponsored Wednesday morning show, sponsored by Brood Awakenings, along Route 16 past Shell, right across from Napa Auto Parts, and we'll be bringing to you a newly sponsored show. Well, I mean, we have the shows every night, but one of the nightly shows is going to be sponsored by a real estate agency on this island. And so thank you to our sponsors. When we come back, we are going to talk about an ethics complaint against Senators Regine Lee and Kelly Marsh Taitano, FESPAC, coronavirus, the sick crew member, a guy named Charles Lieber, who was the head of the Harvard Department of blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there's like spying stuff and whatever. It's interesting stuff about the coronavirus and more, a lot more, when we come back from this commercial break.
Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
After Guam, si Rod's Gimpap introducing the 2020 Toyota Tacoma Access Cap T-Max. Este na mês, gasto mo yung promo ng United Airlines, $1,000 United vouchers. After nanangga, sabik man manono si Tacoma, Guam, Tacoma territory. Text si Rod's ginigi Atkins Pro Toyota, 671-788-2584. Talong bright, go si Rod's, sinanagan sa 671-788-2584. After nanangga, let's go places.
So today, political activist Ken Leon Guerrero filed an ethics complaint in the Guam legislature against Senators Regine Bisco-Lee and Kelly Marsh Taitano, claiming that they broke the government's travel laws. Now, Public Law 35-36 is the budget law, and within the budget law, the legislature, laid out parameters for the use of travel by every government of Guam employee, including senators. And what Mr. Leon Guerrero is saying is that Chapter 13 of the administrative provisions of the budget law provided for 11 exceptions, which would allow, go ahead and cast to my screen, which would allow government employees and officials to travel by utilizing government funds. Item 1 stipulates that, quote, travel to attend conferences and official meetings with national and regional government officials or national and regional organizations of which the entity is an official member, unquote. And then he goes on to state the dates that Senator Regine Lee and legislative staffer Ricky Orsini from the office of Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano traveled to New York for a conference with the United Nations. It's called a Quest for Decolonization meeting. And he says these trips were funded by the respective senatorial offices, which ultimately falls under the budget of the legislature. What he's requesting is for the Ethics Committee of the legislature to investigate these expenditures and to know whether laws were violated in doing so. Mr. Leongaro believes that based on this one provision of the law that says that Guam needs to be a member of the United Nations in order for this travel to have been sanctioned under the government's travel law. And so before we comment on that, let me just show you the, what do you call this stupid thing? The Ethics Committee panel. Oh, there it is. So back in January 2019, the speaker laid out who would serve on the ethics committees for each quarter of each year, of each calendar year. And currently, the members of the ethics committee until the end of March will be Speaker Tina Muñoz-Barnes, Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Clint Rigel, Joe San Augustine, Will Castro, and James Moylan. So we don't have a conflict of interest issue with Regine Lee and Kelly Marsh Taitano serving on the Ethics Commission unless this investigation jumps over to the month of April. And in that month, both of those senators are members of this Ethics Committee. Now, when that happens, they would have to recuse themselves. I don't know what happens after that. Would the Speaker have to appoint two people to in their stead? And I'm going to guess that would be the sensible thing to do. But before we get to commenting on this, we did receive responses from both Senator Lee and Senator Taitano. And as is our policy here at Kandit, we do not trim the responses that people give to us. We give you the whole thing. So Chelo, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Read the whole thing,
Just her statement. Just her statement. Yeah.
Here's Senator Regine Bisco-Lee's full statement. The freedom citizens have to hold their elected servants accountable should always be respected and welcomed. Since last year's visit to the United Nations included meeting with the ambassador from the Federated States of Micronesia, I'm confident any legal or ethical review will show the use of local funds was appropriate in this case. The restriction invoked in a complaint copied to the media also existed in 2018 when Senator Fernando Estevez legally and ethically traveled to the UN to testify about Guam. The decolonization of the island continues to be an issue all leaders are duty-bound to address on the local, regional, and world stages. There will always be an excuse to put political status on the back burner, but our people need look no further than the limited options the local government has to respond to the risk associated with the ongoing coronavirus outbreak to see the dangers being a non-self-governing territory brings.
Now that was Regine Bisco-Lee. Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano's office also responded, and this is what she had to say. My travel to the United Nations last year to testify before the Fourth Committee continued a long and important tradition of elected leaders traveling to New York to remind the United States and the rest of the world of the need to support the decolonization of Guam. Elected leaders and community members have been traveling to testify at the UN since 1982, always with the intent of ensuring that the Fourth Committee has the most up-to-date and accurate information about the state of affairs in Guam. Although Guam is not a member of the United Nations, the Fourth Committee holds oversight over Guam's status as one of the 17 remaining non-self-governing territories in the world. While at the United Nations last year, I also met with representatives from the Federated States of Micronesia and other Pacific countries. As a territory, we are not allowed to participate in many diplomatic meetings, conferences, and negotiations like our brothers and sisters across the Pacific. It is imperative that we enlist their aid to ensure that Guam's voice can be heard and its interests can be considered when important issues in the Pacific are being discussed. As the committee chair with oversight over self-determination and regional affairs, a trip of this type is wholly consistent with the work that my office is mandated to oversee. It is important for elected leaders to be accountable, and I am confident that the work of connecting with Pacific Island leaders, as well as national and international representatives, and using the United Nations as a forum to elevate Our profile and understanding of our issues is appropriate, the value of which should not be underestimated. Within the US and around the world, far too few know who we are. We must seize every opportunity to tell Guam's story and make sure our voices are heard. So there are two areas to go to in this debate on this matter, unless there are more angles that you can see with this, for me. So for me, one is on this issue of the travel provision. So according to Ken Leon Guerrero's complaint, this certain section of the budget law dealing with travel says, travel to attend conferences and official meetings with national and regional government officials or national and regional organizations of which the entity is an official member. So, I mean, now you bring in a matter of statutory construction, right? And exactly what did the legislature mean when it put this sentence together? Because it seems that this sentence could be bifurcated by the word or, because it looks, just by looking at it, and I'm not a lawyer, and maybe if there are lawyers listening and willing to comment on this, maybe they can school me on this, but it does seem to say that you can travel to attend conferences and official meetings with national and regional government officials. And if you were just to take it on that, then yes, the United Nations travel was allowed by the legislature. And then the second part of the sentence, which is separated by the word or, national and regional organizations, and then the rest of it is of which the entity is an official member. So the question is, and there's no comma after national and regional organizations. It just, it flows as of which the entity is an official member. So does that mean that, you know, they were authorized based on the first part, and based on the second part, it doesn't even apply because it's or. Or under the statutory construction, does it mean that that whole thing has to flow until it says of which the entity is an official member?
No, because the or.
Because of the or, right?
Yeah.
See, I mean, it's not like we can rely on our senators to write good laws anyway. So.
It's the same thing when on ownership or your registration, it's gonna say Troy Torres and Johnny Rosario, which means both of us have to sign it.
Okay.
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 But if the registration says Troy Torres and / or Johnny Rosario, either one of us can sign it.
Okay.
So that's that's how I understand the or.
What if it says Troy Torres or Johnny Rosario? Wait, okay. The pronoun, we just have to use this. What if it said Troy Torres or Eric Rosario if he is of sound mind?
Who's gonna determine if Eric's of
That's
sound
what I'm
mind?
saying. No, well, let's just say that there was a way of determining it, right? But if there was no comma after Eric Rosario, right? If it just says Troy Torres or Eric Rosario if he is of sound mind, is he referring to Eric Rosario or to both Troy Torres and Eric Rosario?
Just Eric Rosario.
So then, under your interpretation, they were allowed to travel.
Yes.
Based on, so, but then to me, I don't even care about that. To me, the more important thing is, should they have used the money to travel?
Yeah.
And according to Senators Lee and Kelly Marsh-Taitano, and I'm very interested in what your comments are on this as well. So if you haven't commented yet and you have an opinion, please express it. They both made the case for this was important and it's part of our job to do this. But what I'm wondering is, you know, considering everything that the people have had to go through, and everything
Our
that people are
financial
going through
situation and the things that we are dealing with here on our land, our ground.
Could you instead of using money for per diem or whatever to travel to New York, could you instead have used that money for public education on the decolonization here at home? Is what I'm saying. Could that money have been used for a poster contest in the schools for greater awareness by kids of the issue so that the issue doesn't die in case you guys are not able to meet your campaign promises to decolonize us by the end of your term? You know what I'm saying?
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of their trip to the end.
Well, I mean, like they said, it's been happening since 1982,
Well,
and nothing's come of it yet.
Ms. Gibson says, nice to skate on technicalities, shady boots. Typical
I shall.
system of entitlement.
Yeah, and then there's that too. There's that too. Anything
And
else?
Gary Chonel says, bring back long-haired Bisco Lee.
She cut her hair. I like her bob.
I love it.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice. It took me a little bit to get used to it. So that's it with Ken Leongro's ethics. We will be following that because what he is alleging is corruption, and that's right up our alley. And so we want to see how the Guam legislature handles this and whether they're going to be transparent in their proceedings, because in the past they have not been transparent in their proceedings, and their rules are sort of built that way. Now, speaking of issues that don't seem to rise to the level of community concern, FestPac. And I love my favorite comment on this story today about FestPac being canceled by the festival committee in Hawaii, or not canceled, sorry, postponed because of the coronavirus. My favorite comment is, karma will get you one way or another.
God's not sleeping.
God is not sleeping. Apparently, a whole bunch of Guam was praying that our leaders would come to their senses, and since that didn't happen, they took it to the higher level, and the people in Hawaii were like, you know, we gotta postpone this thing, which makes me wonder, are they gonna postpone the Olympics or cancel the Olympics? You think so?
They are.
And then like all these school functions are being canceled, like these off-island school functions. and
Schools in
stuff like
Japan
that.
are canceled for the next month or so just to get a handle on it.
Which is a perfect segue into what we should be doing here on Guam, because of the story that we have about the sick crew member who was allowed to get off of a ship that docked on February 17 on Guam. And so there's a story on our website where we lay this out. It was from a couple of days ago, but since we haven't been live, we figured we'd bring it to you tonight. On February 17, a ship that came from Yokohama that previously was in Busan, Korea, and Yokohama is the site of the Diamond Princess crew stopover, and which led to the whole like infection of the crew, or of some of the people on board, right? On February 17, after notifying the Coast Guard 96 hours in advance that no one on board the ship was sick, 48 hours later, is it 48? Yeah, 48 hours later, one of the sick members, one of the crew members got sick, and so it was exhibiting at least one of the symptoms of the coronavirus, which was diarrhea. And according to the chair of the Harvard, I'm sorry, I'm getting this wrong, not the Harvard, some bigwig doctor guy who wrote for the Harvard Review, diarrhea is one of the symptoms. And so the person was assessed over the phone by public health, which was not within the protocol that was done for the previous ship that came in, where there were 2 crew members that were sick. There was no visual assessment that was done over this guy on February 17. Now, the government people who we talked to said that this crew member never made it off the ship, but we found out
They did.
that crew member did get off the ship and sought some clinical help at one of the local clinics, and hopefully this guy doesn't have coronavirus and didn't like come into contact with people or whatever in order to spread it. But it does call into question not just the competency of the government of Guam, but their honesty. Because if they will lie,
Most especially.
if they will lie about this one case just so they won't look bad, what else have they lied to us about in this entire thing? And yeah, they keep telling us that there are no cases of coronavirus.
Of course, there's no cases because there's no test kits,
And they
Troy.
keep forgetting to say that as
Yeah.
they say that there's no confirmed cases. Is that, yeah, there's no test kits. It's even something that the governments of California, Washington, Georgia, Rhode Island are saying and
To
are
their people.
amplifying. They're saying, it's not like we've been able to test everybody, who's exhibiting the symptoms. Why aren't they saying that on Guam? Why is there this false sense of security that the government of Guam is trying to portray?
Because that is
to our
their
people?
MO, Troy.
It's ridiculous. And thankfully, the Guam legislature is kicking it into high gear. There was an introduction of a bipartisan bill today that seeks to do a whole bunch of things like hiring nurses and protective gear and gloves and what do you call those things? The masks or whatever. And they're even going to address price gouging because, who knows? Are prices going up?
Prices have been going up.
No, but like a lot because of coronavirus? Corona?
I don't know.
Oh. I've been staying away from all the stores and like especially, never mind, that would get us into Facebook jail. However, I'm telling you, my personal opinion.
We are on YouTube, by the way, tonight.
Oh, cool,
So,
cool.
Don't forget our website, www.kanditnews.com. You can go there for all our stories. We pump out everything through there.
Is there any comments on Corona or on FestPat?
IADA, like they schedule session to accommodate certain chick bullies. Dr. Wittenbach Santos says it also reads national or regional, where the United Nations is international. The law does not cover travel to the United Nations.
Good point.
Half a day from Olympia, Washington.
Half a day.
Hi, Julianne. That's it.
Okay, when we come back, we are going to bring you a lot of news from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam people, okay? Before you start dropping off of the feed, don't, because number one, our Commonwealth brothers and sisters waited throughout all of the Guam news to get to the Commonwealth news. Number two, it helps to expand our horizons if we learn about each other. And there's a lot going on in the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands that we should know about because we are interrelated and we affect each other. So there is big news coming out of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, the possibility of layoffs in the government and further furlough of hours, which is something that we haven't been able to confirm, but we wanted to bring to you as a possibility because we keep hearing it in the chatter throughout, from unnamed government sources. There is the education injunction, more about the allowances, and a special message from Congressman Gregorio Kililis-Tabon when we come back from this commercial break.
Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
Hafaday, this is Congressman Michael Nicholas. Our veterans deserve the best, and I'm working hard to make sure they receive what they earned defending our freedom. If you need help receiving the benefits you earned from the VA or the Defense Department, please call my office at 475-6453 or go online at stnicholas.house.gov. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you for your service.
This ad was paid for with official funds from the office of Congressman Michael Nicholas.
After Guam, si Rod's Gimpap introducing the 2020 Toyota Tacoma Access Cap T-Max. Este na mes, gasto mo yung promo ng United Airlines, $1,000 United vouchers. After nangga, sabik man manono si Tacoma, Guam, Tacoma territory. Text si Rod's, ginagi Atkins Pro Toyota, 671-788-2584. Alumbray, go si Rod's, sinanagan sa 671-788-2584. After nangga, let's go places.
Can I just say what Dr. Wittenbach Santos, he says, he's asking if the tickets have been bought for FestPac. Get your money back.
No kidding. I bet you they were bought.
The moment they got that check.
But you know what? The government is required to purchase the Y-fare, so it should be refundable. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We just in from the Republic of Palau. A news release from the Ministry of Health entitled First Potential COVID-19 Case Identified, Public Advised to Stay Calm and Practice Preventive Measures. As of March 3, that's today, there is one person under investigation who could be a potential case of the coronavirus disease in Palau. Patient is currently isolated and is being monitored at the Bilao National Hospital. Ministry of Health continues to urge the public to remain calm and to continue practicing basic preventive measures, including respiratory etiquettes. Cover, cough, and sneeze with a clean tissue or your sleeve, and hand hygiene. Frequent hand washing with soap and warm water, or hand rub with 70% alcohol-based sanitizer. The public is also advised to stay home if they are sick, avoid those who are sick, and not to visit the Bilao National Hospital if not seeking medical care. For more information, call the Ministry of Health hotline at 488-0555. So more on this patient. The patient is a 73-year-old female visitor from Oregon State with underlying conditions who came to Palau with the visiting canvasback medical team. She is currently admitted in isolation and is being monitored at Bilao National Hospital. Public health providers are also conducting further investigations to determine any potential exposures. Ministry of Health is in contact with the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and will be sending the patient specimen for COVID-19 confirmatory testing to a CDC-approved laboratory on March 4, 2020. MOH is also seeking assistance from the Republic of China, Taiwan for confirmatory testing as well. Can I just say, first of all, that English is impeccable, like so much better than the writing that comes out of our local government. Secondly, that they seem to have it together and be presenting the information that they're
To their people.
Yes.
Yes.
I gotta say, this is outstanding work by the government of Palau. I mean, not that it's good that there's a potential whatever, but they seem to have their stuff under control. Now, moving to news from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, I received today something that this may not be news in the Commonwealth because this is an opinion from their Supreme Court dated January 14, 2020. And let me just, sorry, I have so many things open on my, Jesus. And it's called, there. Go ahead and cast to my screen. So, a question was put to the Supreme Court by Governor Ralph Torres and Mary Lou Atta, who's the chair of the Board of Education in the Commonwealth. And a decision was made January 14, 2020 with Chief Justice Alexandro Castro and Associate Justice John Manglonia writing the majority opinion, and Associate Justice Perry Enos joining in part of their opinion and dissenting in another part. And so here it lays out what are the questions that the governor was asking. This is regarding a provision in the Commonwealth Constitution that says that a certain percentage, I believe it's 25% of general revenues, be allocated annually to the public school system. And there's a whole history behind this where the public school system was not getting what they needed, and so there was a second constitutional committee that decided that 25% is going to be whatever. So now they're asking, what are general revenues? Can we back out certain things as special revenues, which would dilute the amount of money that the public school system would get?
Why are they trying to back out of providing for the public school system?
Because, so I think the public school system gets a big portion of their budget, and under their austerity, to be fair,
Their austerity because of the money the government's taking.
And that the casino is not paying,
Right.
which they're supposed to pay. Well, to be fair, there now is a current economic situation because of coronavirus. And that doesn't say anything about the bad spending that occurred previously, which led to the $125 million deficit that they're going through right now that they need to account for. But there's gonna be more bleeding in the economy, which will lead to a further degradation of revenue, cash flow. And with only half of the fiscal year left in the Commonwealth, whatever they need to cut in the budget needs to be amplified by double because half the fiscal year is gone. You have to absorb everything into only 50% of the space. So if you need to cut $10 million for the budget, that means you need to make $20 million in actual cash cuts for the remainder of the fiscal year. And what the governor is saying is we cannot afford to give the Department of Education or the public school system their 25% of overall general revenues, because if we do that, we will have to cut so much more in all of the other agencies for this remaining 6 months of the fiscal year.
Oh, so they're asking if can they cut the 25% to whatever percentage it's gonna be on their side.
Yeah, they want to cut more into public school system.
Yeah.
The problem is that especially if you're a politician who said that education is the top priority, and most of the politicians say that, right? Especially because the community believes that education should be the top priority. It's a matter of priorities. And so are you going to allow the programs to be cut, teachers to be cut? They're already underpaid teachers to suffer even more with the, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about Maria Gutierrez and John Fernandez at that education hearing when they were talking about the number of vacancies there are. Right now, Guam could end up stealing teachers from the Commonwealth because the pay is better in the Department of Education here than it is and than it will be once those cuts start going into full fruition over at the Commonwealth. Why wouldn't some of those teachers who have families to support come to
over
Guam?
here, yeah.
Or maybe elsewhere in Micronesia where they can earn a better living if the governor in the Commonwealth.
cutting.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Cut his Cheeto money. Cut those things. Cut
I
Robert
agree.
Hunter's salary.
I agree.
He's
I
just
agree.
a Facebook person.
It's a troller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut
Cut Clyde Narita's donut budget.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
give it to, let's cut it where it needs to be cut.
I promised God for the past week
What?
that I would stop making fun of fat people.
Well, we're not even making fun of the governor. We're just saying.
No, but I cannot help myself.
Yeah, well.
God.
People stop giving the governor receipts to turn in so he can get reimbursed. Cut it where it needs to be cut, not at the public school system.
But it's more than the public school system. So I was looking at their financials. There is absolutely no way. Okay, so the rumor is that there's a round of layoffs coming up and a round of furloughs in further hours of executive branch employees. Even if they did that, even if they laid off half of the Commonwealth's employees for the remainder of the fiscal year, there is absolutely no way that they can make their daily cash obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year, even if they cut what they need to at public school system, even if they lay off half the workers, even if they furloughed more hours.
There's no way.
There's no way they can do it unless they continue to withhold the payment of tax refunds to their people, remittances to the retirement fund, any payments that they need to make on loans that they have.
Or unless they get the money from the casino.
Correct. Or they float a bond. But I don't know
I
how
don't
they
think they're
can
gonna get
float
a
a bond
bond.
with junk bond status, with their inability because of what happened with the retirement fund and how it almost went into bankruptcy. Did it almost go into bankruptcy or did it go into I think it almost went into bankruptcy. There's just so, and even if they raise taxes, it's not like there is enough business going around because of the current situation with the coronavirus that they're going to be able to raise the revenue, enough revenue to pay for what they need to pay for in the government. And so you're seeing a very bad situation in the CNMI right now with their government finances, and not to mention with the economy itself and how that's affecting families, but because so many people are dependent on the paychecks that come out of the Commonwealth government, because so many people are employed by the Commonwealth or are retired from the Commonwealth and need their benefits and all that, and their retirement checks. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it has consequences of enormous economic
Devastation.
Yes.
Triple, all the way down.
It ain't just gonna be a trickle,
Mom and pops.
you know? Yeah, it's, and I'm gonna guess that it's happening already.
So who's going to be held responsible?
Unfortunately, every single family of the Commonwealth, because it's beyond, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's a matter of families making decisions about what they need to do in order to survive.
Buy food, pay rent, or pay their car, or yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's why the governor there made a cry out to the banks. Hey, can you hold off on seizing things for a few months? You know, very nice of the governor to say that while he's been living large and taking charge of the people's money and spending it willy-nilly on everything that he wants to, including Cheetos and soft candy. It's just so upsetting when you think about what the people there have to deal with in their personal lives, all the devastation that they have to go, the poverty that they have to live
Troy,
in.
there's no way that he did not see this coming.
Yeah.
The finance committee or whoever handles their finances over there, Larson or whatever her name is, that allowed all of this to happen, you know?
I don't know what they were thinking, you know, but it,
Banking on that casino, what? They're really banking on the casino.
I don't know about that because they're not even asking the casino to pay what they owe. Not even. The Ralph Yamul, the congressman, I can't remember if he's precinct 4 or I can't remember what precinct he's from, but he's a member of the Republican Party, but he's challenged the Commonwealth government, the executive branch. Hey, why aren't you guys asking about the money that the casino owns? And even he's getting pushback. He's in charge of the casino committee in the House. Even he's getting pushback from both the Casino Commission and from the governor's office and the Department of Finance saying, oh, you know what, we can't ask for that right now.
Yeah.
Like, really? You guys aren't going to do anything? Your people are suffering. And they a lot of them haven't even
And they owe
recovered.
more than $40 million, right?
I can't remember what the figure is. It's something like that. Yeah. You're talking about the casino,
Casino.
right? $125 million as of the last estimate in the deficit, which does not even include the anticipated deficit as of the last estimate for this fiscal year, which of course has gone up because of the coronavirus issue and the downturn in the economy there. It's a sad, sad situation. And when you ask, you know, who are they going to hold accountable? I think we're beyond the politics now of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're now into the brass tacks of family financial planning that
And the
requires
suffering.
enormous sacrifice. Yeah. Anyway, before we move on to the allowances and what the legislators have been doing with the money that they get, are there any comments?
They never met the 25% even when they had the money.
No. Well, there you go. There's commitment to public education for you.
Can you tell me if I'm wrong? So the PSS system, the employees there had austerity, right? They were cut, right? So now that they're going to a new austerity, they never went back. So they're gonna cut the cut.
Correct. And when
And that's the difference between the PSS system and the other government areas.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So I heard that right. I read that right.
Yes, you're
Wow.
right. You're right.
Wow.
They never got a break.
Wow. Thanks, Governor.
They absorbed the cash impact that the rest of the government was allowed to be like,
Wow.
oh wow, you know. And this all happened after the whole raids, the IPI raids, the raid at the governor's office, and the governor's, hey, no more austerity. BS. BS. Absolute BS. Now, as Governor Ralph Torres has not been made to answer for his spending on Cheetos and soft candy and hunting gear and I don't know how many headsets that he needs and Bose speakers,
Yeah, and those cameras, what are those little small cameras, Prim?
GoPros.
The GoPros,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he says, oh, it was for our medical referral office. Shut
Yeah.
up. Whatever. So while he has been able to skate on any sort of accountability placed on him by the Commonwealth Legislature because of the House and the Senate's refusal to move forward on the investigation that the independent minority has been clamoring for the legislature to hold on Governor Ralph Torres and the Department of Finance. And when I say the independent minority, I'm talking about the 6 members in the House and the, actually, I think it's just been one senator in the Senate, Senator Paul Manglona, who, and there are two other independent members of the minority in the Senate, but I have not heard any statement from them. Senator Teresita Santos, if I'm not mistaken, and Vinny
I don't know,
Sablan.
but they threatened us. They threatened whoever it was. I don't know who's that.
They can, whatever, they're stupid. But Senator Paul Manglona has been very vocal about this. And so we started this look into legislative allowances because we became suspicious. Why are they going to go down with the ship politically? Why aren't they going to do what the people want and hold the governor accountable by starting and creating an investigation into him? And then when we started looking at these allowances, we were like, oh,
This is the reason why.
it's not because they're protecting him. It's because they don't want these
They're protecting
questions shown on
themselves.
themselves.
Yes.
Because some of them, and most of the Republicans in the Commonwealth Legislature have refused to disclose the receipts of the spending of their allowances. And most of the Republicans took the allowances. And now tonight, we are bringing you the allowances reports of 3 of the members of the Commonwealth Legislature, starting with Marco Peter and then Ivan Blanco, who is the House Ways and Means Chairman. And special attention needs to be paid to him because that's the committee that sets the ground for the Commonwealth's fiscal policy. So, when you look at his spending or the allowances that he takes, you tend to wonder, or you tend to understand more how the Commonwealth got into this situation. And then finally, Senator Vinny Sablan, who is the only Republican we've reported on so far who has agreed to the release of his receipts. But let's start with Marco Peter.
With an attendance record that earns him the 21st Commonwealth Legislature, most likely to miss work superlative, it is hard to imagine just how Saipan House Representative Marco Peter had the occasion to spend $13,400 on official functions. The Precinct 3 Republican lawmaker, notorious for his absence from the House floor, began taking the allowance in June 2019, when he received $2,500. The following month, he received $1,000. In August, Mr. Peter asked for and received the maximum amount of $5,000. The congressman received $2,700 for September, a request that was made on the last day of the month. On November 5th, 2019, he asked for $700. Then 7 days later, he requested another $1,500. The legislature years ago authorized allowances for its Tinian and Rhoda legislative delegations to defray costs of functioning in both their home islands and in Saipan. In January 2019, the legislature changed its rules to allow its Saipan legislators to take the allowance, capped at $5,000 each month as well. Most Republicans in both the House and the Senate take the monthly allowances, according to documents Kandit received from the Department of Finance resulting from an Open Government Act request. Most Republicans refuse to disclose the receipts of their spending of these allowances. Mr. Peter never responded to Kandit's request for receipts. He was the only member of the House to not respond to our OGA. The $13,400 in allowances Mr. Peter took is on top of the $32,000 salary, annual salary he receives. Those who prefer to keep their elected officials accountable to the taxpayers who foot the bill for their salaries and lifestyles may want to ask Mr. Peter how he has time to spend $13,400 on official functions if he doesn't even have time to go to work and earn the $32,000 salary.
The Republican chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee and one of the top defenders of Governor Ralph Torres may have personal reasons for dragging his committee's inquiry into Mr. Torres' spending of the Commonwealth's money. Precinct 3 Congressman Ivan Blanco took $8,800 in legislative allowances in 2019. He is among the majority of his Republican colleagues who refused to disclose the receipts of his spending of the allowance. According to documents from the Department of Finance, Mr. Blanco began receiving allowances in February 2019 when he requested and received $1,000. He took $2,500 the following month, skipped April, then took $1,000 in May 2019. Mr. Blanco did not take an allowance in June, then in July received $500. For the remainder of the fiscal year 2019, Mr. Blanco took $1,000, $300, and $2,500 for August, September, and October, respectively. The House Ways and Means Committee is the Commonwealth's vanguard of fiscal policy. While DOF manages the government's cash flow, the legislature, through Ways and Means, determines the parameters of spending. The legislature years ago authorized allowances for its Tinian and Rota legislative delegations to defray costs of functioning in both their home islands and in Saipan. In January 2019, the legislature changed its rules to allow its Saipan legislators to take the allowance capped at $5,000 each month as well. Most Republicans in both the House and the Senate take the monthly allowances according to documents Kandit received from the Department of Finance resulting from an Open Government Act request. Most Republicans refuse to disclose the receipts of their spending of these allowances.
Saipan Senator Justo Kitagwa, unlike most of his Republican colleagues in the Senate, has opened his doors to the inspection of the receipts of his expenditures of a total of $31,903.22 in allowances he took in fiscal year 2019. According to documents released by the Department of Finance, Mr. Kitagwa did not avail of the allowance since fiscal year 2020 began and since disclosures by Secretary of Finance David Italic Jr. of the Commonwealth's precarious financial condition. However, in fiscal year 2019, Mr. Kitagwa did avail of the allowance every month of the fiscal year from the start of his term in the 21st Commonwealth Legislature. In January 2019, Mr. Kitagwa took $2,903.22, followed by allowances of $5,000, $3,000, $3,000, $3,000, and $3,000 for February through June, respectively, and $4,000 and $5,000 for August and September, respectively. Mr. Kitagwa is married to Assistant Commissioner of Education Jackie Kitagwa, whose school system is under siege by the Tourist Administration for funding the what is that word?
What is it?
Constituent.
Where is it?
We're there.
Constitutionality.
Constitutionality.
No. Constitutionally.
Constitutionally is owed to the public school system. Thanks, Troy. Kandit will be taking up Mr. Kitagwa's offer to retrieve the receipts of his expenditures and will expose those receipts accordingly.
Before we get to our last story, well, let's comment on this first. So, first of all, thank you to Senator Kitagwa for agreeing to the disclosure of the receipts. And this means that the story on Senator Kitagwa is not done. And that he has agreed to the disclosure of receipts tells us that he's not hiding anything.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
And I like that he has sense in his amount.
Yes, at least in 1 month.
Yeah, I like those cents.
In 1 month, it's but all the other months, it's very suspicious round dollar amounts. But we'll see. Maybe Mr. Kitagwa pays rent for a home in Rota and Tinian because maybe he goes there to do work as a senator for the entire Commonwealth. I don't know. We'll see when those receipts come. And I hope if Mr. Kitagwa's staff is listening, they don't start getting an idea to make up documents. But Kandit will be at his office this week to get the documents from his office, as well as documents from Senator Teresita Santos, who has also agreed to the disclosure, and from Senator Vinny Sablan, who has agreed to the disclosure.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Senator Paul Manglona already disclosed his documents, and we'll be doing that story as well. We've been holding off on the ones who agreed to disclose or who don't actually file the allowance or take the allowance, to do a great news piece on them and to also thank them for their transparency. Now, as for Ivan Blanco, I wanted to talk a little bit more about him because he is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and constitutionally, fiscal bills begin in the House and they get sent to his committee. This guy has been traveling a lot to Guam. I don't know under whose dime, I'm not sure. But he meets a lot with Senator Will Castro. Him and Representative Luis Castro fly to Guam a lot for their Marianas working group, whatever it's called or whatever, right? And that's good. One Mariana's that's a good thing and everything. But do the people of the Commonwealth know what the money is being spent on? This $8,800. The people of the Marianas will never know because he refuses to disclose the receipts, and that's very troubling, coming from the guy who's supposed to be like the
Holding
defender,
everybody,
yes,
accountable.
of the Commonwealth's money, of the people's money. He's the guy. And that he has taken $8,800 in allowances, no 0.023 or no cents or whatever in it, just straight amounts, different amounts at different times of the year. And he refuses to say what he spent that money on is very troubling and is indicative of the financial situation that the Commonwealth is under because of the lack of accountability and responsibility for the funding. This is just, what he's done is symptomatic of the problem. And people should look very closely at his record and what he has done. If he refuses to disclose these receipts, scrutinize everything else that he has done that's a matter of public record even more. Because this guy's in charge of the money, and if you want to know who should be the first person to blame for the Commonwealth's financial situation, at least for fiscal years 2019 and 2020, this is the first person to look at. Because he's the guy in charge of the money. Now on your comments, Junie Tudela says toilet paper price skyrocketed due to Corona. I used to buy a certain brand for $6.95. Jesus Maria Jose, yesterday it went up to $12.95. Potlude, time to use newspaper. Use the Pacific Daily News. Marvin Francisco says, half a day from Kmart craving the spaghetti. Get out of there, Marvin. Get out of there. There's Corona.
But not before buying the deep dish.
But yeah, get a deep dish pizza and drop it over here. But yes, hand sanitizer too. I talked to one of the employees at Kmart.
Okay.
And I felt really bad because I was getting cigarettes and I asked her, hey, does management here give you guys hand sanitizer? You know, because they're taking the money from the tourists. That was a little racist, right? This is not just tourists. But I mean, come on.
They're handling the money.
They're handling the money from people who, potentially could have the virus. And she told me that no, they don't get hand sanitizer. But management tells them that they can walk over to where the Bank of Hawaii ATM machine is and they have the hand sanitizer roll there. I'm like, whoa, that's from where this lady was, it was like 60 feet away. And she has to deal with her customers one after the other and cross-contaminate everybody by handling that money or like the merchandise that they have, as she's handling the Charmin toilet tissue or whatever and the high C drinks and all that stuff. There's cross-contamination happening. And I'm like, why couldn't this big company provide their employees with hand sanitizer? You would think that would be a thing. Anyway, Desiree Santos says, we need the test kit now before it's too late.
So if they receive the coronavirus because of working there, is that considered workers' comp?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. We should find out tomorrow. Much to the chagrin of Kmart and any other business that needs to worry about that kind of liability. That's a very good question. Julianne Pacagui Padua says, one love, we are better together. Mariana's strong. Thank you. Sandra Rages says, what's taking so long in getting test kits? Back ordered. We tried calling public health today, but they didn't answer. Actually, their line was perpetually busy. Maybe people are asking the same questions. Junie Tudela says, very true. Teachers deserve better. Do we blame them for leaving the CNMI? Heck no, it's just a matter of time. Davina Benavides replying to Linaliana says, I'm so sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Lianiala Bato, everyone is involved. Nobody tried to stop it. I'm wondering what, do you know what are you seeing what that comment was by Lianiala Bato? No. Shelly Gibson says, Republican in name only. I think Will Castro, is that Will Castro she's referring to? Yeah. Sandra Ray just says, allowances for functions. Water is good enough. People should understand our islands don't get money to schmooze, so they should understand. Our islands need to get it together. Some leadership are greedy. Very smart, just no common sense. Lomang Puspat said they're greedy.
Ekwat de.
Said the corrupted zoo. Sandra Ray just says money is just dirty, period. So finally, what we have to bring you is a very nice clip from Congressman Gregorio Khalidi Sablan during a February 28th hearing of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, where Secretary of Veterans Affairs Robert Wilkie Jr. was testifying before Congress, and Congressman Khalidi had some choice words for the Secretary.
I'm so envious, you know. The gentleman here is complaining that he doesn't have a hospital, but he's got several CBOCs. I don't have a CBOC. I don't have a vet center. You guys were talking about programs, caregivers, and HUD VASH. Those are not available in my district because VA will not put staff in my district. I've got nothing except for a fee-based doctor who's available twice a week to see 400 veterans, or almost 500. We have to figure something out better than what we're giving these veterans. Sir, when they put on a uniform, they're as much American as you are. And yet, when they get wounded and they go to the islands, no, they only half an American. It's enough that they don't vote for their commander-in-chief, sir. Give them some decency.
I love that. And he says, sir, when they put on that uniform, they're just as American as you are. But when they get hurt in that uniform, they're only treated as half an American.
Mm-hmm.
That was a boom moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or what do the kids say these days?
I stand. Wait, they said.
100.
They're like, no, my daughter's in school, and they're like, your mom's Johnny? So you know Troy and Johnny? And so my girl's like, yes. Like, I stand, or I forget the word they use. They say something. It's different.
So it's no longer like booyah or boom,
No.
shakalaka. When did people say shakalaka?
I think that's just.
Is that back when people said megwa? You guys remember megwa, right? Let's bring back megwa. Hashtag megwa. I know a few megwas.
Oh, by the way, Kandit shirts should be going up on our website sometime this week, guys.
Oh, and there
So,
are Kandit
stickers right
stickers
now. Yeah.
on sale on our Facebook shop.
And also on PayPal shop.
Is it on our website? It is? Oh, I didn't see it there. Oh, okay, cool. So go to our website to view our stories. Sign up for our website. That's where you get the stories first, actually. Candidnews.com. We have the stickers there. We'll be having the shirts available there. You can call us at 456-4237 or 797-7082, or email us at news@candidnews.com if you want to advertise. Thank you so much to our advertisers, sponsors, and donors. We very much appreciate the support that you have given to Candid News, and also for your business partnership with us. Thanks to you guys, we'll be around for a very long time, much to the worry of the political establishment of both Guam and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, and nothing makes us smile more than knowing that. For Candid News, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
Good
Good
night.
night.